Hey guys, Johnny Yaps here. We are on our way to Showdown 20. I'll be ring announcing tonight and there's some cracking fights on. Shout outs to both Craig Jen, who's the promoter, and Brian Ebersol, the matchmaker, for putting on a really good show. It'll be exciting. And we'll catch up with some of the guys that we normally see at these events. Probably have, I think, Adapix will be there, AJ, Warren from Warren So Photography. Obviously, Leo is riding shotgun with me tonight. And we're going to try and bring you some behind the scenes footage. You guys can see what goes on in my little world. Showdown was probably one of the, it wasn't the first promotion that I got involved with. The first one I got involved with was a little promotion down in Wollongong called SFC. It was a new promotion at the time, Southern Fighting Championship. I actually knew the people running that. So shout out to my friend Lena, who basically used to train at the same gym that I was. She was one of the PTs there and obviously, trained a lot of kickboxing herself. I reached out to her when I saw that they were doing events and I just asked, you guys have any commentators? I'm looking at changing careers. I figured, this might be a good opportunity to get into something like that. So then Lena just said to me, oh yeah, come on down. This is when the event is, come, I'll be introduced to the guys that are doing the stream and then we'll go from there. So then that's how I met the crew from Combatants, Sam and Glenn. Glenn was there on the night and it was funny, like they weren't actually prepared for commentary. They didn't know that Lena had said, Johnny was going to come and do commentary. So I had brought my my Roadcaster from obviously podcasting because I didn't know what equipment they had, and I just thought, plug my Roadcaster into their equipment or whatever was there. Yeah. If they weren't set up, and yeah, funnily enough, so they weren't set up for what they needed. They had all the equipment, but they just didn't bring it. Usually the promoter will tell them if they need, commentary or whatever. So I took advantage of the fact that I had the Roadcaster there to then plug in and then commentated that show solo. So that was the first time that I ever commentated or had like behind the scenes involvement with a combat sports promotion. And then from there, built up good relationships with the guys at Combatant, started getting involved in all the different shows that they're a part of. And then how my relationship with Showdown came about, like around Showdown, it's on my YouTube, but I think it could have been maybe 10 or 9, maybe around then. I reached out to the promoter, Craig, and I just said, hey, I'd love to do commentary for the show. Found out that, Showdown doesn't get live streamed. Yeah. So then it was like, oh yeah, we're not doing a live stream. But then Craig was really kind to me. He said, look, why don't you come and check it out? And then me being me, I figured, okay, if Craig's gonna let me come to this show for free, so to speak, I'm gonna do something as a value exchange for them, and I will do content.
Yeah, nice.
So there's a couple of videos that are on my YouTube, which was highlights from Showdown, and that was like the first couple of shows that I got involved with Showdown. And then one of the shows, we did do a live stream courtesy of Combatants at one time, and I commentated for them. And then after that, then Craig, sort of said to me, Johnny, do you want to try ring announcing? And I was like, oh look, yeah, you guys don't run commentary, I'm happy to ring announce.
Yeah.
So then he gave me a crack at ring announcing, and then it basically went from there that, now I'm the main ring announcer for Showdown. So shout out to Craig. He's been a really great support, he's a good supporter of mine. He likes, the energy and the vibe that I try and bring. Ring announcing is interesting, right? Because you do a lot less talking than what you would do if you're doing commentary, but my voice hurts so much more. It's a really easy one to overlook, and I think, any ring announcer that's good, it's one of those ones where it's like, you probably don't recognize the impact that a ring announcer may have on a show. It's only when you sort of then reflect on it that you might sort of realize, oh, that person might have been good or might have been bad. Like, I'm not saying I'm the best or anything like that. What I'm saying is that I do take the role very seriously as a ring announcer, just because when you think about what is your role as a ring announcer? Well, there's a few things there, you have to obviously be able to command a crowd. And I think it's the same reason, I don't know if you've ever been to any when they film TV shows and things like that. Mm-hmm. They have warm-up guys. I remember years ago, I got to be in the audience of the footy show as an example. And they've got warm-up guys. So they're basically guys that will come out and they'll do a little bit of stand-up and maybe talk some to the crowd. Yeah. And they'll explain, what do you need to do? So it's okay, when you see that we're here and we're saying applause, then you cheer and clap and do all those things as loud as you can. And so, you know, as a ring announcer, like there's an element of that, right? Like there might be first timers in the crowd that have never come to an MMA show before or a show before. So I think being able to let the crowd know that, hey, you know, when your person comes out, whoever you're supporting, cheer for them. Yeah. Like be loud, be supportive, right? And at the same time, you know, like there's been times when sometimes the crowd does get, you know, overstep its bounds. And like I've had to call that out before where, you know, like if I'm interviewing somebody in the cage after they've fought, then I'm trying to give them their moment. Yeah. Right? And so I think it's really disrespectful if people don't allow that person to give their moment, especially like, you know, we're talking like we're still local and regional shows here, right? Yeah. We're not talking like we're in the UFC and you're fighting out of a stadium. You want to give people their opportunity to express themselves. 100%. So, you know, like there has been like a time when I had to like sort of lay the law down on some crowd members that were just being plain rude. Like just because your mate lost, yeah, that's cool. Like, but the reality is your mate's probably embarrassed that you're trying to talk shit. Yeah. You know, like if you want to talk shit, just go and compete yourself, and then let your fists and your feet do the talking. So there's that element of it of like, you know, helping the crowd to understand, you know, what's their part in it. You know, and you're there to support your friend, be loud, be vocal, have a great time. Like that's part of what I'm there to do. I'm trying to facilitate people having a good time at these events so that you want to come back and go again. Yeah. And then there's the other part of it, which I think is really interesting. You know, when you're the fighter and you're about to have this pretty crazy experience, you know? Yeah. Like you're going to be locked in a cage with basically a guy that wants to knock your head off and the other guy, you know, the referee who's there to try and, you know, protect either fighter when shit goes bad, right? Yeah. You wouldn't really think about it until you've done a few shows like I have, and I've gotten to announce, you know, so many different people, and it's almost like explain, I guess, how I came to this line of thinking was I remember watching something on Bruce Buffer. Bruce Buffer is also like a ex-traditional, or he's a traditional martial arts guy, and he was talking about, you know, part of his job is like these guys are about to undertake something that's so difficult, right? And to give them that respect of like these guys are willing to do something absolutely crazy, you've got to respect that and put all of your essence into what you're doing for them, right? And that's why, you know, like Bruce, synonymous with the UFC, you know, like because he brings that kind of an energy where people get chills. Yeah. You know, and if you're that fighter, like that's a huge moment for you if you make it to the UFC and now Bruce Buffer's calling your name, like that's sick. Yeah, 100%. Right? So I try and, you know, I wouldn't say, or maybe emulate is the right word. Like I try and bring that similar sort of respect, you know, knowing what these guys are about to go through. I want to make sure that, you know, if anything, my introduction's there to pump people up. It's not to bring people down. Yeah. Right. And like at the end of the day, like whether it makes a difference or it doesn't, the fact that I know that I've given my best to that fighter, like in terms of the energy, the introduction, then, you know, from that point, it's up to them. But it's kind of cool, like, you know, when I look into their eyes and I'm announcing their name and they smile at me, and it's like, or like I can almost like tell if that fighter's they're ready to, you know, put their heart and soul on the line, you know. Yeah, when the fights are going, there's a little bit of like, you know, I guess the admin side of it, you know, just explaining, you know, saying, you know, what round we're in. If people don't hear the clacker, obviously I have to say, you know, it's 10 seconds remaining. Yeah. You know, when it's loud in there, the fighters may not even hear the ref. Yeah. Right? So they're the little things that form part of my role, and you'll see me like, you know, when people are taking in that 1 minute rest, when it's 10 seconds out, you hear me say seconds out, just to help the referee then command what's going on as well. So yeah, so that's basically what I'll be doing tonight. It's always good. Like I'm really looking forward to tonight's card. It's a lot of good fights. I can't remember every single name off the top of my head, but I know we got 2 title fights, Ben Pats and Akram. Well, Ben Patterson, sorry, the Axe, and Akram. We've also got young Perry, and I think young Perry. It's funny because I think I was at whether it was his first or his second fight. That was also on Showdown. Yeah, right. Yeah, and like the thing that I love over this last 2, maybe 3 years now, I've gotten to see people that started their career. And then also gotten to see, you know, some of the guys that have gotten to bigger shows and bigger shows. Yeah. And I think that's really cool. Like, it just goes to show you that people only see success as being like an overnight thing, but, you know, these guys have been grinding for years to try and get to where they are. Yeah. I always do my best to go out back and talk to the guys and make sure that I've got like, you know, the pronunciation right. Like try and talk to the first timers and just explain, you know, what am I there to do? Tell them that whether I'm MC or I'm commentary. A lot of the times, you'll probably see if you follow me around tonight, the running joke is that I'm the doctor because I'm the guy that's dressed in a suit and I'm Asian. Not that they're racially profiling me, but it basically was the joke from like maybe like the second show that I was involved with. The first thing that people would say, because I'd go out back to talk to people, and I'd say, "Hey guys, you know, just want to check, you know, is this you?" And then they'd be like, "Oh, are you the doctor?"
Yeah.
I'd be like, "You mother." Yeah, so that's the running joke. So all the guys that like I see quite regularly, whether it's from the commission or the actual doctor themselves, like we'll joke about it. That people, you know, often assume that I'm the doctor. If I'm doing commentary, I obviously do my homework.
Yep.
If it's a show like an outer show where there's a lot of first timers, obviously there's not much homework to do.
Yeah.
Right? But what it might be is I go through the list of names to make sure that, you know, if there's any names that I'm not sure about how to pronounce, then I want to make sure I get that right.
Yep.
Because I think, you know, that in terms of like the base levels of respect as an MC or a commentator, that is like the basic level of respect you need to provide anybody that you're commentating or ring announcing, right? Pronouncing their name correctly. And caveat on that, like I have like f***ed up some names before, right? So, but it wasn't like, you know, I had spoken to them before and checked what their name was, but sometimes you just get tongue-tied.
Yeah.
So those things happen. But so the other things that I'll do beforehand is obviously if I'm commentating, I always try and talk to them beforehand and like ask them a few questions. And it just depends on the night. Like sometimes it might be, if they're guys that I've seen fight before, I always like to ask for a prediction. Whether they tell me or they don't. Like most people are okay, you know, and that's part of the reason. Like I have to try and stay, you know, agnostic in terms of what I do, right? Like if I'm seen to favor, you know, a person or a team, it impacts my integrity when I'm commentating or when I'm ring announcing, kind of a thing, you know. And like reality is like because I'm at so many of these events, a lot of these guys do become, you know, I do become friendly with over time. I'm in a much more fortunate position than being a referee. Right? Like if you're a ref, that one's tough. You know, like I can only imagine what it's like when you have to ref people that you know or people that you like, right? Because you want the best for them, but at the same time, you got a job to do, right? You have to maintain your integrity at all times. So it's the same thing, you know, like when I go and ask people for what their predictions are, I never share that with the other corner. But when it comes to commentary, it's always cool to know that. Because that gives you a little bit of insight into the game plan, right? And that becomes a talking point because, you know, when you're in commentary, like what is your goal? Your goal is to provide a little bit of insight to the person that might be watching. And especially like talking about the local and regional scene, right? Like some of these people, like nobody would know them, right? Like it might be their first time fighting or whatever the case may be. So any sort of background information you can provide is really helpful. With a lot of the first timers, so people like, you know, that have never fought before, it's always interesting to ask them, you know, what do they actually do for work? And like, one of the things, it's kind of like a bit of a running gag that I like to do, but on an outer show, like I will try and like come up with as many puns as possible. Right? So like if somebody's like an electrician, I'll use like the line that, you know, oh, maybe this guy's, you know, going to try and spark his opponent here tonight, you know, or if they're a carpenter or something, you know, they're going to chip away or whatever. Like you just try and find a pun that is a little bit of fun and, you know, you got to enjoy what you do too. 100%. And then when it comes to ring announcing, basically just making sure that I know the card. And you'll see it tonight, you know, first thing I'll do is I'll get the fight card and then I'll make sure I've got all the information that I need. It's getting the basics in terms of the information so that, you know, when I'm in there and when I do that introduction, you know, what do I need to say or what do I need to cover off. And then aside from that, you know, I might like try and warm up my voice a little in the car, like just by talking, literally like what I'm doing now, and then just make sure that I've got like water and some kind of a drink. And then basically once the night starts, it's literally just trying to survive. You know, make my voice last to the end. It's a big card today, so I might be out of a voice by the end of it. Teach you guys something, how to get free drinks. Especially when you're early, right? And like there are promoters that, you know, like will sometimes give you like a tab or something, but there are other promoters that it's just like, oh, you know, you fend for yourself before the show starts. And they only really look after you once the show starts. So I've worked out, in clubs like this, if they've got a gaming room, the drinks in the gaming room are free. So that will be our second stop after we drop our stuff off. Let's sign in. You well? Ready for tonight? Oh, promoter, can't miss him. Mr. Jen. Craig Jen, promoter, Showdown 20. We've got how many fights on tonight?
18 fights. So
what are you looking forward to most?
mate, to be honest with you, that last fight is going to be a cracker.
So did we put the pro? Yeah, Zach and Emil.
Yeah, Zach and Emil.
Yeah, Zach Hogan, Emil Jerry's. And we've got 2 title fights for amateur MMA as well. Yeah. So Ben Patterson, Backroom, that's going to be a good fight. Yeah, and Perry and Jai Sutton.
Perry and Jai, yeah. Well, Lions Den and Tigers.
Eagles. Yep.
We'll see.
Yep, we'll find out. All right.
All right, nice one.
How are you?
You well?
Good, thank you.
Oh, well. Everything okay?
Yeah.
But it's not hooked up to anything. Now, you good to go?
Yep.
How are we going?
Good, how are you?
Good to see you.
You too.
That's Leo, you're just doing some content behind the
how are you,
scenes as well. Timekeepers, there's all that sort of. Fellows, how we going?
G'day, how's it
Ready
going?
for a good night? Johnny?
Hey, Kevin, how are
Kevin,
you?
lovely to meet you.
Also Kevin?
Oh, Kevin makes it nice and easy.
Yeah.
I'll be ring announcing tonight. Mr. So,
Hello.
how are you going?
I'm good, how are you?
Hey, videographer extraordinaire. So they got a fight card. I like to look for when I'm doing these things is obviously round times because different styles of fight. So you can see here like Mod Thai, Full Thai, MMA, K1, Mod Thai, K1, MMA, Australian title for MMA, a couple of K1 fights, state title for MMA, and then the pro MMA fight, right? For me, when I'm ring announcing, obviously I got to be mindful of like how many rounds because I got to explain that to the audience. And then what I'm looking for is do I have the fighters' weights? I've got their sanctioned weight, so what the weight they're supposed to be, but that'll be something that I need to add. And then I also use the fight card. So with the fight card, it tells me blue, red. Okay, blue always gets introduced first, red is always second. Most likely I will end up utilizing, I'll probably end up utilizing this as my run sheet. And so I'll need to then transfer the information that I need from here across to this one. So. All right, so Brian Ebersol, he's a matchmaker extraordinaire behind.
I just do some admin assisting.
What's this? What do you mean, man?
I'm an admin assistant.
Oh, admin assistant.
I got very fast fingers. Yes.
Now, Brian, obviously you've had a good hand in putting these fights together. Which one are you? Tell us what you're excited to see tonight.
We have a cool clash of an MMA guy fighting like a Taekwondo karate guy, and I don't know exactly how the MMA guy fights, but we all have that like stereotype of like versus like cool, beautiful teeps and kicks and range. So that one's going to be an interesting battle, like who gets to fight at their range, and then of course what happens. The next one I'm really, really excited about, just out of the box, is these 2 like young kids at flyweight. So we've got Omar versus Beta from good training rooms. They know each other, so the fight was actually suggested almost by the coaches.
There you go.
Like these guys have competed in everything else. We may as well let them finally do MMA against each other. And so they're like cross-town rivals, and it's kind of cool. Yeah, and then our main event's going to pop. Like
Zach
very
Hogan and
athletic, talented, gritty individuals. So neither of them wants to lose, obviously. They're both in like their home state. They didn't have to like travel and do anything exotic, so it's just, fighting for like home turf. It should be neat.
And Zach always brings that intensity, right? You'll see it when you film his walkout later, and you'll just see Zach's eyes will not leave his opponent until the fucking cage door is locked and they're banging. So.
Yep, he's got a process. He just zones in and goes.
Yeah. All right.
Should be good.
Cool. Well,
enjoy yourself out there. I can go left-handed if you can. I'm a southpaw Johnny.
6 o'clock. I'm gonna go do my little trick of getting a free drink before we kick off. How you doing? Sorry, can I just get a Coke, please? Yeah, sure. Thank you. Thank you. Too easy. And that, my friends, is how you game the system.
Ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the beautiful DYRSL Club. We are here for Showdown number 20. Are you guys ready for a night of action? think we can do a little bit better than that. Are you guys ready for a night of action? Okay.
My voice is like hit the end of the night period. All I want to do is basically just sit in silence and not hear the sound of my own voice anymore. There you go. All right, I hope you guys had fun. Johnny Apps signing out.